Hey guys, how's it going? Today we're going to be going through and getting the whole process started on the hydro conversion on my 1990 Honda CRX. If you have a CRX or a Civic that's on the EF chassis, you might be familiar with the company. If not, check them out. Hush Performance, they go through and sell plenty of parts for this chassis. One of the main kits that they do sell that people do recommend and prefer is this EF V3 hydro conversion kit. So it comes with this bracket and also the master cylinder. And this mounts onto the OEM pedal assembly and converts it from the OEM cable to our hydro. You have the option of including the reservoir and also the feed line that goes to the slave cylinder. I got those included. I did have to get the reservoir separate because at the time I ordered the kit, they didn't have any of the reservoirs, so I had to get that separate. The first part of doing this is we're gonna have to go into the cabin and drop the steering column so we can remove the pedal assembly itself. All right, so we're here in the cabin. Mine might look a little bit different than y'all's. I'm in the middle of doing a K-swap, so it's kind of messy. If you want to, you can remove the seat. I removed it because I knew I was going to be underneath the dash quite a bit doing this whole thing, so it's been out for a while. But there's normally a panel right here underneath the steering wheel that's covering all this wiring. Go ahead and remove that. And after you remove that, we are going to have to drop the fuse box and disconnect all the connectors off of that and drop that because it does kind of block the pedal assembly back behind there. I'm gonna do the best I can to record all this and get some good shots to help y'all out, but it is under the dash, so. All right, so we're here laying on the ground looking up at the fuse box. This blue connector was right in here, and this connector, this white one, was right over here. So remove those two, and then the fuse box has two bolts, or two nuts, sorry, holding it on. There's supposed to be one right there, but clearly, I guess, either I already removed it or somebody else already removed it, but it's not there. And then there's one right there behind that connector, right there. And you have to remove that. And after you remove that, hopefully it'll drop down. Yeah, so we remove that one nut, and then now it's just free hanging. The only thing that's holding it on is all the connectors. So here on the back side, there's all these connectors. Go ahead and start disconnecting them so we can drop that and get it out the way. All right, so all the connectors from the back of the fuse box are off. Here's the fuse box itself. Put that off to the side somewhere. And then, as you can see behind it, what was behind it, or I guess above it, is the connector to the brake pedal right here. And also you're gonna have the connector to the clutch pedal right there. I guess the previous owner removed it. He thought he was too cool for that, or just had a bypass for it. Either way, start disconnecting all those, and then we're going to start working on dropping the steering column. All right, so to start dropping the steering column, first we're going to have to remove this bottom piece on the bottom of the steering wheel, or steering column, whatever you want to call it. And to do that, there's 3 screws. So I'm getting underneath it real quick to show y'all. So the first one's right here on the very bottom of it, and then there's 2 more right here. So remove those 3 screws, the transfer, lose them, and then after that we have to remove I believe those two bolts right there, and I think there might be 2 more, but we'll find out in a second. So once you remove those 3 screws, this bottom piece has some of these tabs right along here that snap into the top part of the plastic on the steering column right there. So try to be careful so you don't snap them, but at the same time you do have to put some force on there to get those tabs off. And then we'll have to get underneath here and see what else we got to do. You're gonna have to remove that one right there, and then if you can see it, there's one right there you have to remove. Those 2 hold the steering column up, and it's a 12mm, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove those, and then we can drop the steering column. Alright, once the steering column is removed, you have to remove for sure this one, this duct right here, and I believe this one over here as well. So for the time being, I removed, there's an AC duct right here, a bigger one, and there's a smaller one over in right here that had like the foam wrapped around it. Once you remove the one that has the foam that's wrapped around it, you can see this last bolt right up there. I am not too sure what all is going to have to be removed, but it's looking like so far basically all the AC ducting that's underneath, at least for the driver's side, it's looking like all that's going to have to come out, because the master is going to be sitting basically right here where this whole box is. But before I can really confirm that, I'm going to go ahead and remove the pedal assembly and then set up the bracket for the kit, and then we'll see how that everything looks after that. Ta-da! Pedal assembly is out. Here it is. That was a pain in the ass. Honestly, I think this was the the main thing I was not looking forward to on this whole project, was this right here. But it's out now, so I just gotta mount the bracket. So now that we have our pedal assembly out of the car, we have to remove this nut right here. But we're going to keep the bolt going through because we don't want to remove the actual bolt. We just want to remove this nut. And we're also going to remove this nut right here, because the bracket has 2 points of contact right there and there. But it'll be easier to tell whenever I do that here in a second. I'll show you which one. So here it is, all on and everything. Nothing's tight because you're not supposed to tighten it until you have everything aligned onto the clutch pedal, which can't do just yet, because what we need to do is actually drill a hole right there under the hook on the clutch pedal for the time joint, I believe it's called, on the master to bolt through, because there's nothing currently on there. So this right here will bolt onto the clutch pedal, and they give you this bolt with a bunch of washers. That way you can space it properly to where it's nice and straight, because you don't want this master to be actuating, or when you push the clutch pedal and you don't want it to be going in and out at an angle, because it's just not going to work right and you're just going to deteriorate it faster, way faster. So what we're going to do is get a center punch, and I already have my 5/16 drill bit on there. So I'm going to drill a hole in there and get everything squared away. Alright, so I went and drilled into the pedal, and I already went and got everything on. I try to get it as straight as possible. I think it's fairly straight. I did kind of mess up the hole. It should have been down just a little bit more. But other than that, I think it turned out pretty good. Now I just need to throw it up into the car and see if anything else needs to come out. So yeah, you do have to go and remove the AC ducting on the driver's side. So all the AC ducting from the right of the gauge cluster this way has to be removed, and to remove the rest of what I have not removed, you have to remove the dash. But I'm not going to remove it all the way. I'm just going to remove the gauges, gauge cover, and kind of loosen everything up on the left side to get those ducts out. Alright, so to remove the gauge cluster cover, there is 2 screws. One down there, another on the other side, right down there. And then you're also gonna have to, this one's kind of a bitch to do. You have to remove that cover, that one's missing, and you have to remove this one as well. So that one's missing a screw, but I do have one screw right there, so I have to remove that, and that should just pop off. Once the cover's off, there's a Phillips right there, and then a Phillips down below. Same thing on the passenger side. Sorry the shots are so poor. I usually have a headlamp, but I took those to work. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and remove those 4 screws and then remove the dash. I'm sorry, not the dash, the cluster. So once you remove the gauge, you're gonna have to go up to the top there, right up in here, and remove a bolt. So remove that bolt, it is a 10, and then as you can see, it frees up a lot of room without you having to remove the dash. I'm gonna see if that works, and then if it doesn't, I'll let you know what else you have to remove. All right, so I got the ducting out. You don't have to remove anything after you remove that top bolt up there in the middle of the dash. To get the 2 ducting out, you're gonna want to remove this one first. And the way it's sitting in there, this tab is right here, and there's this one right here that has a stud going through it, and it has a nut. You're gonna have to remove that nut before you can pull this one out. And once you pull this one out, that one right there, which is sitting in a car like that, but up against the side, this one comes out second or last. Get it down and show you real quick. So this is this that I'm talking about. That's where the nut is. And then this bracket back here is where that tab on the first one that you have to remove comes out. I'm gonna try to show you all this the best I can. However, it is a pain to see right now. So back behind this piece right here, it's this little white thing that has a bunch of wires going through it. Back behind that, if you push up the dash, because we loosened it, if you push up on the dash enough, you can see the nut that I'm talking about that you have to remove to get that one out. This is a pain in the ass. Not even halfway done, and I've been doing this for a few hours now. So all this, and then all I'm going to be able to do tonight is just put the pedal assembly in and check something out real quick. And once I check something out, I'm gonna have to basically call it quits. Not quits, but I won't be able to finish it up until next week. So that'll be a few days till I get to actually finish everything. But I'm gonna grab the pedal assembly and throw it in and see how everything looks real quick. So I went in and put in the pedal assembly. It's not in all the way. I just put in the top bolt that's holding it in. So as you can see, it's in, and I'm gonna crawl underneath there and show y'all something that I had a problem with. So hopefully we can help y'all out. So when you're down here putting the whole assembly in and everything, the master cylinder, it keeps interfering with this piece right here. And obviously we don't want to remove this piece because it's what's holding the dash in. So you just kind of have to work around it and take your time. It is pretty frustrating, but it's possible. And now that we have the assembly in, the next step is going to be to install this bracket right here. These two bolts are going to be what attaches this piece to the bracket on the pedal assembly itself. And on the bracket, it's slotted so this can move up and down. And then these 2 bolts up top are going to actually be bolted to the chassis itself. And what we're going to be doing is removing these 2 bolts, and then we're going to install this bracket onto the pedal assembly, push up to where it would be normally, and then you're going to mark where these 2 bolts would go, and then you're going to drill it out. That way you can actually have these bolts, attached to the car. And what this is going to do is it prevents the OEM pedal assembly from flexing and cracking. Because if it flexes and cracks, then you're going to have a bad time, and it's not going to be very enjoyable to drive the car. Hush Performance does make a secondary bracket that kind of comes across from here to there, and it makes a whole X and just makes the whole thing stiffer. I'm thinking about buying it and putting it on. It's only like 30 bucks.
But other than that, we're gonna go ahead and get this part drilled out.
So I haven't drilled the holes yet because I decided to get that secondary bracket that's going to reinforce the pedal assembly, and I wanted to be sure that where you would drill wouldn't get moved by this secondary bracket, because you are adding an extra piece of metal to the hydro conversion itself. But I installed it, it's in the car, and it does not move the holes, so that's good. But now we're going to be going through and actually drilling the holes finally. So there is this little piece right here that basically sits right there, and it has a little clip right here and another one over there that you can see. You pop it up, and then I'm not going to bother removing it all the way, so I'm just sliding it over because we're going to be putting it back anyways. So once that's over, the holes we're going to be drilling are going to be back behind this gap where that ducting piece was. So now we're going to go through, drill the holes, and then we can actually go through and get this thing mounted in all the way. So I got that bracket put in. As you can see, you are going to need a second pair of hands to do that. Let's just build different, I don't know, but I had to have a second pair of hands for that. But that's in, so once that's in, the next thing to do is we have to actually drill into the firewall for the bulkhead fitting that goes from the master cylinder to the slave itself. And before I got the kit, I was thinking this, and also the kit says it in the instructions, but right here, probably one of the better spots that you can drill into and have that be. So I'm gonna be doing that here. And then just kind of tying everything up, put the brake master back in, do all that. You're gonna bleed it, but before you put the steering column in, you do have to bleed the master and also the clutch. But I'm not ready to do that just yet, so I'll be doing that in this video because I kind of can't. So I'm basically at the end of this project for the time being. I have the bolts and the bracket, everything in, the pedal assemblies in. I've also got the brake booster back in, kind of mocking everything back up. And then I ran the line and have the line there. I decided to do an line instead of the rubber hose as provided, just personal preference. And I also have the bulkhead fitting on. But there's not too much else I can do. I gotta put this piece back here, and because those two tabs are broken, I'm probably just gonna be using some kind of RTV or maybe Honda Bond to put that back. But other than that, that'll be it for this video. I hope this helped y'all get this kit in. It is a bit time consuming and it can be frustrating at times, but everyone says it's worth it, and I hope it will be. It'll make the car drive a lot better. That's it for the rest of the video, or the whole video. Stay safe, drive safe, and have a good one.